In the aftermath of the destruction that befell the once mighty people of Ad, a renewed devotion to the oneness of Allah re-emerged, and the resolute voices of the faithful preached the sacred narratives of prophets who had walked the earth before. Amongst these were the stories of Noah and Hud. The descendants of Hud found themselves living in an era of blessings. Gathered in the northern regions of modern-day Arabia and Jordan, these people, now known as the people of Thamud, embraced their heritage with curiosity. Eager to delve into the enchanting stories of their ancestors, they marveled at the descriptions of lofty palaces perched on top of mountains on pillars, inheriting not only the wisdom but also the gifts of size and strength bestowed upon them by the Almighty. A few individuals of the people of Thamud were inspired to resurrect the once mastered craft of skilled artisan. They aspired not to defy the divine will, but to enhance the designs of their predecessors, creating structures that would withstand the test of time and the elements. With each passing season, these individuals flourished in their pursuit of architectural ingenuity. They honed their skills to carve intricate dwellings within the heart of mountains and rocks. The once barren cliffs transformed into a tapestry of chambers, corridors, and stories that matched the grandeur of their lineage. As the sounds of their tools resonated through the rocky chambers, the people admired their newfound security. "Nothing can harm us," they would declare with unwavering confidence. The rock that enveloped their abodes shielded them from the whims of nature. Wind, a force that once raised civilizations to dust, now danced harmlessly around the mountain, unable to disturb the sanctuary within. Water flowed down the slopes, leaving the mountain abodes untouched, and should the earth beneath them tremble, the rocks would cradle them securely, a durable foundation that weathered the passing storms of time. In their pursuit of architectural mastery, the people of Thamud now surpassed the achievements of their ancestors, the people of Ad. For their exceptional skill and wisdom, the people of Thamud chose these men whose vision and determination enhanced the lives of the people with an esteemed privilege. They ascended to the revered roles of leaders, guiding their people with a blend of visionary wisdom and the practical mastery of their extraordinary skills. The people of Thamud celebrated in a life seemingly touched by divine grace. Each dawn unfolded with a perfect balance of warmth and coolness. As the sun cast its gentle rays upon the mountain city, the rains descended precisely when needed, an abundant blessing that nurtured the fertile land, sustaining not only the people but also the bountiful crops, fruits, vegetables, and livestock. With each passing generation, the people of Thamud had managed to create a utopian existence. They found themselves in a state of perpetual abundance. The fields yielded harvests of such abundance that the need for toiling under the sun became obsolete. No one was burdened by the weight of a day's work. The rhythm of life in Thamud danced to the harmonious melodies of nature's generosity. As the blessings flowed endlessly, a subtle complacency took root within the hearts of the people. With no shortages to contend with, indulgence became a way of life. The grand feasts under the mountain's embrace transformed into lavish gatherings where excess knew no bounds. The thriving fields, now abundant beyond necessity, bore witness to a slackness that seeped into the core of society. No longer driven by the necessity to survive, the community faced the unintended consequences of prosperity. The intricate carvings that adorn the mountain walls stood witness to the changing tides of fortune, silently echoing the warnings of balance and moderation that the teachings of their ancestors had instilled. After the passing of these men, the people enveloped in the lap of luxury started to revere back to the practices of polytheism. They also began to idolize the memories of the pioneers that were credited with the creation of this magnificent city. Statues were made in their honor, and in their reverence, the line between admiration and adoration blurred. The families of the initial architects had over time become affluent and astute as living embodiments of success. These individuals in succession were appointed to positions of authority and acclaim. their words elevated to the status of sacred doctrines. The people had forgotten the message of their ancestors, who were humble leaders, guided by a sense of duty and communal well-being. Instead, the inheritors succumbed to the intoxicating allure of newfound status. In their elevated positions, they became the de facto idols of the people, their actions perceived as divine mandates. As the worship of the ancient idols transformed into a symbolic gesture, the veneration of the living idols intensified. The people's aspirations cantered on emulating the lifestyles and philosophies of the revered few. The city became a theatre of grandiosity, where the wealthy and intelligent were both the architects and the stars of an unfolding saga of excess. It was during this time that a man from amongst them named Saleh emerged. Born in a noble lineage, he was renowned for his wisdom and intelligence. Saleh was held in such high esteem amongst his people that he was on the verge of being appointed as the tribe's leader. His reputation was a testament to his character, and many looked up to him with admiration and anticipation. However, Saleh's destiny took an unexpected turn when he was chosen by Allah to carry the mantle of a messenger. In a society intoxicated by materialism and self-worship, Saleh stood as a lone voice, urging his people to reconsider their path. Addressing the masses, he questioned their way of life and the emerging decadence that threatened their once harmonious existence. "Do you not fear Allah with how you are living and becoming?" Saleh implored, reminding their dead hearts of their covenant with their Creator. His words, however, were met with shock and disbelief. The very people who had once revered Saleh as a potential leader now questioned his motives. "You were preparing to lead us. How can you, of all people, come to us and disrupt our ways?" they protested. "Are you turning away from the path of our forefathers laid out for us?" Undeterred, Saleh continued to convey the divine message entrusted to him. "I have been sent as a messenger to guide you. Do not doubt the path of worship," he implored. "These blessings you enjoy are from your Maker. Humble yourselves before your Lord instead of worshipping idols and the wealthy amongst you." Saleh, undeterred by the mockery and skepticism that surrounded him, continued to besiege his people with a heartfelt plea. "O my people, remember that Allah has made you successors after the people of Ad, whom He destroyed. Allah has blessed you with everything. Turn to Him." However, the people, ensnared by the allure of the opulent lifestyle, turned against Saleh. Mockery and scorn became the currency with which they responded to his divine message. The echoes of Hud's time reverberated as they labeled Saleh a madman, accusing him of casting spells amongst the people. The rich and powerful, reluctant to relinquish their positions of privilege, remained obstinate, dismissing Saleh's words in fear of losing their wealth and influence. Yet amidst the apathy, a flicker of hope emerged. The marginalized, the downtrodden, and the poor, often the first to feel the tremors of social change, began to rally behind Saleh. Drawn to the promise of a higher purpose and more equitable existence, they embraced his teachings with sincerity. In the face of growing resistance, 9 tribal leaders, representative of the people's skepticism, approached Saleh with a challenge. "If you are truthful," they declared, "then show us a sign." Saleh stood before the tribal leaders of Thamud, his gaze steady and his heart filled with the weight of his divine mission. The leaders, shrouded in skepticism, eyed him with a mixture of arrogance and disbelief. "What sign?" Saleh's voice echoed through the stillness of this gathering, challenging the leaders to define the criteria upon which they would accept him as Allah's messenger. The tribal leaders exchanged knowing glances, a confident smirk playing upon their lips. "We will decide and come back to you," one of the leaders declared, dismissing Saleh with a wave of his hand. The others nodded in agreement, their laughter reverberating against the rocky cliffs. Saleh, undeterred by their mockery, nodded solemnly. Days passed and the appointed time arrived when the tribal leaders returned to Saleh, their eyes gleaming with anticipation. One after another, they presented the criteria for the sign they demanded. "1," declared the first leader, We want a she-camel carved from this very rock before our eyes. The second leader continued, 10 months pregnant to prove its miraculous nature. The third, with a smirk, added, it must be gigantic, a creature beyond the ordinary. And, chimed the fourth, it must be of striking red colour, a colour unseen amongst the beasts of our land. Furthermore, spoke the fifth leader, it should provide as much milk as to fill the bellies of our entire community. And the sixth leader concluded, it must be a kind never seen before in these lands. The tribal leaders erupted in mocking laughter, the echoes bouncing off the stone walls that surrounded them. Saleh, however, remained composed, absorbing their criteria with a thoughtful gaze. Is that it? Saleh inquired, his voice steady. The leaders nodded, their laughter subsiding into a smug smile. So be it, Saleh declared. We shall meet on the appointed day, and your criteria shall be met. As the word spread through the community, anticipation gripped the hearts of the people. The chosen day arrived, and the community congregated near the rocky terrain to witness the unfolding of the divine sign. Saleh, guided by faith, stood ready to demonstrate the power of Allah and reinforce his role as a messenger to the skeptical leaders. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow on the rocky landscape of Thamud. As Saleh raised his hands in supplication to Allah, the tribal leaders, their skepticism etched on their faces, watched with a mixture of disdain and curiosity as Saleh invoked divine intervention. As Saleh prayed, the mountainous rock before them began to split. First, a delicate nose emerged from the solid stone, followed by the gradual revelation of the she-camel's face, eyes, ears, and eventually the entirety of the magnificent creature. A colossal red-colored camel stood before the astonished crowd, its pregnant belly a divine testament to the miraculous power of Allah. The community found itself divided in the wake of this revelation. Some humbled and awe-inspired fell to their knees in acknowledgement of the divine truth. However, the tribal leaders, their hearts hardened by doubt, remained steadfast in dismissing the miraculous event as mere magic. Undeterred by the leaders' disbelief, Saleh addressed the community with a voice filled with divine authority. The camel has come as a sign from Allah. Leave it to graze the earth freely and do not harm it, or Allah's punishment will be swift, Saleh continued. Due to its sheer size, it will drink from the springs on one day, and on another, your livestock can drink from it. The shares are to be shared equally. Despite Saleh's words, the leaders, resistant to the divine truth, began sowing seeds of doubt amongst those who had embraced the message. In hushed debates and whispered conversations, they questioned Saleh's authenticity as a messenger, attempting to erode the newfound faith of the converts. The man is a magician, not a messenger, the leaders proclaimed, attempting to cast doubt and uncertainty amongst the believers. They debated fervently, trying to sway those who had recently embraced Saleh's message. However, the converts, their hearts touched by the divine sign, stood firm in their belief. We believe he is a messenger of Allah, they declared, refusing to be swayed by the leaders' attempts to undermine Saleh's credibility. As the majestic she-camel roamed freely, grazing the earth as instructed by Saleh, the people marveled at the divine manifestation before them. The tribal leaders, however, remained entrenched in their skepticism, unwilling to acknowledge the undeniable miracle that had transpired. As the days unfolded, the miracle of the she-camel took an even more extraordinary turn. The once solitary creature, red and majestic, now bore witness to the miracle of life as she gave birth. The sight of the mother and her newborn offspring grazing the earth became a living testament to the truth of Saleh's message. The community, already captivated by the divine sign, found themselves drawn even closer to the message of Saleh. More people, witnessing the promise of Allah unfolding before their eyes, embraced the call to turn away from their misguided ways and follow the path of righteousness. The tribal leaders, however, watched with growing unease as the number of converts continued to rise. Fear crept into their hearts, realizing that the increasing tide of believers was threatening their established way of life. If Saleh continues to amass followers, our positions of power will dwindle to nothing, one leader whispered in apprehension. We may be forced to forsake our way of life, another added, their voices stained with concern. The miracle of the she-camel, intended as a divine sign, began to disrupt the leaders' status quo. They realized that their influence was slipping away, and their once unquestioned authority now faced the threat of being overshadowed by a higher power. The she-camel, granted the freedom to graze wherever it pleased, slowly started to wander into the farms of the people. The other livestock, instinctively fleeing from the giant creature, disrupted the vegetation, affecting the people's own crops and livelihoods. The leaders seized upon this as an opportunity to turn the people against Saleh. They sowed seeds of discontent, claiming that the very miracle that they had witnessed was now turning against them. See what Saleh's message has brought? Chaos and disruption to our lives, they exclaimed, attempting to exploit the inconvenience caused by the she-camel's freedom. Despite the leaders' attempts to tarnish Saleh's message, the people who had witnessed the miracle remained steadfast in their belief. The she-camel, now an embodiment of divine truth, continued to graze freely, her presence challenging the established order and leading the people of Thamud towards a path of righteousness. In the shadows, the 9 tribal leaders gathered, their faces concealed by the darkness as they conspired to rid themselves of the divine sign that had disrupted their way of life. The blades of treachery glinted in their hands as they devised a plan to silence the she-camel and extinguish the hope it had ignited among the believers. Having hatched their sinister plot, the leaders dispersed to their respective communities, rallying those who shared their disbelief, plotting the demise of the miraculous camel. As the day arrived, the disbelieving masses gathered, their hearts filled with resentment and animosity towards the divine sign. The 9 leaders surfaced, having swayed a group of rebellious troublemakers from their own tribes. Creating hysteria in the air, these rebellious individuals approached the majestic she-camel with malicious intent. In a swift and brutal act of betrayal, one of the men slashed the hind legs of the defenseless creature, causing it to collapse in agony. The others, driven by their malevolent agenda, descended upon the fallen camel, attacking with ruthless determination until the once majestic creature lay lifeless. Their cruel eyes then turned towards the offspring, a symbol of hope. Without mercy, they snuffed out the innocent life, extinguishing the divine spark that had stirred the hearts of the believers. The disbelieving people, complicit in this act of brutality, erupted in celebration that night. The air was thick with the scent of cooking meat as the once majestic she-camel and her innocent offspring were transformed into a morbid feast. The flames of defiance flickered high as the people partook in the chilling celebration, celebrating in the demise of the divine sign that had challenged their way of life. Saleh, upon hearing the devastating news of the she-camel's demise, raced to confirm the truth. His heart sank as he beheld the lifeless remains of the once majestic creature, its body now consumed by the very people it had come to guide. The leaders, rejoicing in their malicious victory, approached Saleh with smirks on their faces. "Yes, we have killed the animal," they jeered. "Now, as you promised, bring about the punishment you threatened us with." Undeterred by their mockery, Saleh sought solace in divine guidance. Allah in His infinite wisdom revealed to Saleh a message that was to be delivered to the people. "Remain in your homes for 3 days and enjoy, for after that comes your destruction." When Saleh conveyed this message to the leaders, their laughter echoed through the rocky corridors. "You are threatening us with death," they scoffed, oblivious to the divine plan unfolding. Fearing Saleh's prediction of death, the leaders schemed to kill him. They suggested that if one person from each tribe acted simultaneously, it would be hard for the people to retaliate against any single leader. However, Allah the All-Knowing, the Most Wise, had commanded Saleh and the believers to leave the city, saving them from the imminent destruction that would befall the disbelieving inhabitants. Upon hearing this, the leaders celebrated. They were relieved that they didn't have to carry out the act of killing Saleh. allowing them to continue their lives without further interference from his preaching. As the days unfolded, the people waited with bated breath for the promised punishment. Day 1 passed, and Thamud remained untouched. Day 2 came and went without any incident. On the 3rd day, the leaders and the people, convinced that Saleh was nothing more than a deluded madman, rejoiced in their perceived victory. "Look at us, living and breathing, untouched by any punishment," they exclaimed, mocking Saleh and his divine warning. They retreated into their dwellings within the rocks and mountains, feeling safe and secure in their misguided belief that their defiance had gone unanswered. As the early hours of the 4th day dawned, a profound stillness settled over Thamud, cloaking the city in an eerie calm. Unbeknownst to the inhabitants, a divine reckoning was about to unfold. Suddenly, the air quivered with a strange force, a sonic wave that rippled through the atmosphere. This wave began as a distant murmur, gradually intensifying into an ear-piercing scream that echoed through the air. As it entered the homes of Thamud, the very rocks and mountains seemed to amplify the sound, creating an unholy chorus of torment that reverberated through the hollow chambers. The disbelieving people, caught off guard, clutched their ears in agony. The intensity of the sonic wave was unbearable, causing excruciating pain that penetrated their very beings. The hollow spaces within the rocks and mountains, designed to provide shelter, now became chambers of amplification, increasing the torment that befell the once defiant inhabitants. In the face of this divine onslaught, many fell to the ground, their bodies trembling with pain. The sheer intensity of the sonic wave caused hearts to stop, and life was extinguished instantaneously. In the wake of the sonic onslaught, a lingering stillness settled over Thamud. The once defiant city now lay silent, its inhabitants silenced by the divine hand. Today, the remnants of the once mighty people of Thamud lie scattered across the vast expanse of Arabia, silent witnesses to a civilization that declared its might and power, but ultimately perished in ruins. The echoes of their arrogance carved into the rocks and mountains stand as a haunting reminder of disobedience to the Almighty. As you visit these desolate places, where the carved-out buildings bear witness to a once prosperous people, take a moment to reflect on the lessons embedded in the stones. Resist the urge to enter these ruins, for they are tainted with the echoes of pride and rebelliousness against the divine. Instead, walk swiftly through the area, mindful of the eerie atmosphere that may envelop you. And if you listen carefully, maybe, just maybe, you may still hear the distant screams of the people of Thamud echoing through the desolation.